What's happening, good people? Welcome to the channel. I'm Wes, aka Mr. Budget Watch, and today I'll be reviewing the brand new Pagani design PD-1733, aka the Milgauss Homage. This was kindly sent to the channel at a discount from the trendy men's watch store and does not have to go back, but you guys know that doesn't change my opinion. Link for this can be found in the video description. Those of you new to the channel won't know that I have a very mixed experience with Pagani as a brand, and after a break, and at your request, I decided to give them another chance. So can they redeem themselves? Well, that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Starting with the sizes, and the 1733 measures in at dot on 40mm, including the crown, that goes up to 42.1. Lug to lug is a manageable 48.8. However, when you factor in those mail end links, that does increase to 51.9, but don't let that put you off just yet. The thickness, 11.7, which is nice to see. The lug width, a strap friendly 20mm, and finally the crown measures at 6.4mm. Construction is stainless steel throughout apart from the sapphire crystal. This crystal is a little bit unusual and has a green tinge. It's the first time I've ever had experience, but it hasn't really taken anything away from the experience at all. The 1733 also has a screw down crown and case back, which helps give it a solid 100 meters of water resistance. Well, claimed, that is. Sized up for me, 130 gram, and it does have lume, but no spoilers yet. So spec rise, we're off to a pretty good start, but how does the rest of the watch compare? Well, the bezel first, and it's a typical high polish slope style, though I have noticed that the polish is good. Some of their older models were a little bit cloudy, but this is better. It's nice to see. The crystal is a disc of sapphire with that green tint like previously mentioned. It hasn't really done anything to affect the legibility, and it's actually kind of cool and acts as sort of a break between the polished bezel and the sort of frosted rehaut. The minute track is a series of printed white batons, which is broken by printed orange numerals every 5 minutes. These are, pretty nicely done and play nicely with the other orange accents on the second hand and other text on the dial. As for the indices, they're all applied and feature a high polished border which pops nicely. The main indices are simple batons, with the 12 being a large upside down triangle. These are again solid and lume filled too. Under the 12 there is an applied Pagani logo, again done in a high polish. People are still a little bit hit and miss on this one. Some people really like it, some people prefer the old, but let me know what you think. Are you a fan of this, or do you prefer the old version? Above the 6 there is UGS printed in orange and automatic in white. If you aren't a fan of UGS on the dial, I have been informed there is a new version coming out without it. I personally don't mind it at all, and I kind of like the little pops of orange that match the rest of the accents. Now to my favourite part, the dial itself. It has a very nice sunburst, but it's the colour that really does it for me. The shade is so nice and shifts between green in some lights and turquoise in other. It works so well and looks awesome with the orange as well. It's now become one of my favourite combos. Finally, to the hands, and these are a simple, slightly beveled baton with slithers of lume towards the end. They're not fancy, but they're pretty well done. Now to the second hand. This one is a little bit polarising and you'll either love it or hate it. At first I wasn't a fan, but it's definitely grown on me the more time I've spent with the watch. Of course, Pagani can't really take any credit for its design, but I can say that it's well done. The sides of the case are well plain and kind of not interesting, though again the high polish is done to a better standard than other Paganis I've seen in the past. The crown is pretty well done too, good nailing, and it's a nice size, plus signed too, which is always a bonus. Last up, the case back, and it's a little bit more on the plain side compared to some of Pagani's other designs, but again it's pretty solidly done. The outer ring is done with a subtle brush finish and has Pagani design engraved, as well as 1733 for the model number. The inner circle is bordered by a high polish ring and has high polish specifications to contrast against that etched backdrop. Again, it all looks good, but it's a little bit plain to see. The bracelet, it's a typical oyster style. We have that large male end link, though they do actually conform and flow nicely with the lugs and don't protrude too far. I do however wish they'd switch to female end links to fit more true to size. On the plus side, they are solid and fit very snugly between the lugs. The bracelet is well finished too, and the brushing is done to a very good standard. Definitely some of the best I've seen from Pagani. It's nice and uniform and cleanly done. Few imperfections, but I think that's just from wear and tear. The links are also solid, and we have screw links too, which is always nice to see, and makes the bracelet adjustments very easy. The clasp again is well done. It's that Rolex style and has a brush finish with some subtle polished accents, as well as Pagani design engraved. Mine does have some damage though. I think that's likely an isolated occurrence, as I'm not really seeing any others complain of the same issue. On the plus side, it does have a functional diver's extension, which is good to see, as I've had issues with this in the past. So it's nice to see it actually work. On the downside, those micro adjusts, they're still a nightmare to use and need addressing. On the wrist, it's a bit of a mixed bag. The size, really nice and fits well. Even with those male end links, it conforms very nicely, and I don't get any overhang at all. I think this is due to them sloping down rather than sticking out. The thin profile of the case definitely helps too, and it hugs my wrist extremely well. The weight isn't a big deal either, which is made better as the watch is quite low slung, so it never feels top heavy. My only issue really is the bracelet. Even with all the links removed, it's still a touch too big, and because those awkward micro adjusts are not the easiest to use, it's so difficult to get a perfect fit. It's not all doom and gloom though, as I've been told it does fit bigger wrists fine. Those guys with slim wrists were a bit out of luck. Well, unless you want to spend ages messing around with those micro adjustments. As a whole though, it's comfortable, even despite it not fitting the best. To the power plant, and we have the old faithful NH35. I wish they'd have gone with the 38, but you know, the 35 is fine too. Specs wise, we're looking at, you know, the bog standard 24 dual, 21,600 beats per hour, 41 hour reserve, hacking, hand winding, auto winding, and an accuracy of -20 to +40 seconds per day. But they always run better than that. So that out of the way, what's this actually like to use? Well, I will say that Pagani's of old had kind of gritty and not the best feeling crown and stem arrangements, but this one does feel a little bit more solid and robust. So I'm thinking they probably might have gone with a different, maybe more premium one that feels a bit better, and it's definitely paid off, as the winding is way smoother and nicer in use. The time adjusting again is really smooth and feels great. Definitely a massive improvement over Pagani's of old. My only slight issue is the crown. The diameter is a good size, the grip is nice, though I think it needs to be a little bit wider so you can get a better purchase on it. Now to where every Pagani falls down, the loom. And this is, well, a bit better actually, but it's still not up to the level of some rivals. The indices appear to be okay and get decently bright and last a while, though it's the hands that really let it down. The fill isn't good enough, and the loom is patchy and has no power or longevity. Some improvements made, but there's still room to make it better. Of course, I'm not expecting amazing loom, but some consistency between the hands and indices would be nice. So as a whole, the 1733 has exceeded my expectations, with only a few things that still need tweaking to make it better. Most of which is the bracelet, which is actually easy to swap out, so it's not a deal breaker. The crown is also a little bit of an issue as well, and I think it could be made a little bit wider just so it's a little bit easier to use. But the rest has seen big improvements in both quality and finishing. Of course, it's not quite on San Martin Chronos level yet, but you know, it's getting closer. So they are taking notes and are making improvements. However, they still have a ways to go, especially in the loom department. And also those little areas that they just seem to be missing, like the micro adjust, to make everything better. They're definitely on the right track, but they've still got a little bit of way to go. As for the 1733, at the current sale price of £80, I think it's actually really good value and one of their better at the price point. However, when it goes back up to full retail, it does become a little bit of a harder sell. However, I will say that it's one of their better releases at this price point in a long time. So they are making improvements, and I think they are getting better, but they still do have a little ways to go. What do you guys think? Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any uploads. And of course, follow me on social media at Mr. Budget Watch. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.